Good morning, friends. This is Durga again from IT Varsity, a one-stop shop to learn all the technologies. So we are towards the end of the Scala and Spark workshop. As you guys are aware, this session is backup for my live audience. So let me start the WebEx and then we'll proceed. So good morning, friends. I'm muting everyone. I'm saying mute on entry, disabling entry and exit tone so that we don't hear background noise. Those who are not speaking, just mute on yourself. I already said mute, but some people are not muted. Probably they might be just joining. Anyway, let's get started. I'm sharing my screen. And also I'm starting the recorder and I'm recording this the session. So let us recap what we have done so far. So far we started with Scala, and then we actually get into core Spark APIs, transformations and actions, and then we got into data frames and Spark SQL. Okay, so as part of the last session, we just concluded the Spark SQL about how to connect to Hive context. Did I cover that? Yeah, I covered that. I covered how to connect to Hive context and start running the queries. Let me recollect whether I have covered that or not. I'm not 100% sure. Did I cover Hive context as part of the last session? 1 minute. I do not forget, but yeah, Sunil confirmed that I have covered Hive context. Okay, so yeah, I have covered this Hive in Spark context. I think I haven't. I covered Spark SQL, where we have created where we have created the case classes, and then we actually ran queries against it. So now let me go ahead and start with Spark SQL in Hive context. Okay, so to do this, you need to connect to the lab because we don't have Hive on our PC, so we'll not be able to practice this on our PC directly. So in ideal scenario, you need to have a development environment with Hive, and then on the probably on your PC itself, you might have to have Hive also, and then you can create Hive tables, and you can actually integrate Hive with Spark and submit Hive queries. But it is pretty tedious. So what I will recommend is try to use data frames and work on the logic of coming up with Spark SQL and all those things using data frames. And then refactor your code, removing the data frames component and change it to Hive, and then you will be able to submit on the cluster. Let me explain what I'm trying to convey. Let me demonstrate. So here I am starting IntelliJ. Okay. So you don't need to do anything extra in build.sbt. You just have to add Spark Core and Spark SQL as dependencies. Let me open that project. File, open, recent. I think this is the one. Okay, yeah, this is the one. And where is the 1 minute? Just give me a moment. I'm trying to recollect. Okay, so I did everything in the back end. So once I defined the dependencies, what I have done, I just launched the project here. Okay, so I'm going to my idea projects, and this is where I have demonstrated earlier by launching SBT console. It will get all our Spark SQL and Spark core binaries, and from here I just um, gone through this data frames SQL page, and I have demonstrated creating the case classes and then running the queries against it. Okay, if you want to make it a program, you can just copy paste this thing. You can just copy paste this thing. And then here you can create a new class or new object, new Scala class of type object, and let me give the name. The name is total revenue daily SQL. Total revenue daily SQL. So I'm trying to compute using Spark SQL, and then I'm replacing this, and I have tested it by using by using one at a time. Means by executing individual commands. Here I need to create case classes also, so I'm adding case classes to the IntelliJ application. So for the better usability purposes, you can modularize. If you look at the code snippet here, I have a package called retail.dataframes, and in that I have created case classes in separate files, and then I used those two things as part of our program called Total Revenue Daily SQL. So let us try doing that. So here I will try to create a new package, and the package name is retail.dataframes. Okay, so let me spend some time on this, and then we'll get to the Hive context. In the last class, I just executed Spark SQL from the command line. Now I'm trying to show how to create a program out of it. Okay, so now we created these data frames, and then I'm creating two classes. Okay, class, and then click OK. I have to give the name. One is orders, and here I'm just copy pasting this one. Okay, and then I'm creating another class, and this time it is order items. Okay, and then I want to move this to here. Okay, now everything is under one package. Now most of the errors are gone. There is one warning with respect to this. I think we don't need to say this. That's what it means, because it's already string. So it is just complaining that you don't need to do that. Okay, now our code is ready. Okay, now what if you want to run, you can go to run and then go to edit configurations, and here we are talking about new application. Okay, and the main class name is uh, total revenue daily SQL. Okay, and then program arguments we can give. So it takes. Let me see how many arguments it takes. One is input path and the other one is output path, and then the mode in which it needs to run. Okay, so run, edit configurations, and the input path is slash users itversity research data retail underscore db, and output path is slash users itversity research and then total revenue, and then I want to run it in dev mode. Okay, and then click on apply. Thank you, and click on OK. Okay, and now we can run. I'm not sure whether I have ran the correct one or not. Yeah, I didn't run. Okay, it's just a warning, so we can ignore that. Okay, so now let us go to the output path and see if it has created or not. It did not, so it didn't run actually. I ran the wrong program. So recompile and then okay, let me edit configurations. Okay, there is a dot at the end. Click on apply, click on OK. I don't know why it is okay. I didn't give the name. Let me give a name to it. Edit configurations. Yeah, name is total revenue daily SQL. Okay, let me delete this and then give the program arguments here. Okay, so users research, sorry, itversity research data retail underscore db, and then users itversity research total revenue and then dev. Click on apply, click on OK, and then yeah, now it looks good. Okay, now let us see. So there's something missing in the application master, so I have to modify this. Okay, so dev dot deployment master equal to local prod dot deployment master equal to the client. Right. So when we run it in prod, we will give prod as the third parameter. And now let us go to here and then right click on it, run. Now it is running. So first we validated the data frames using REPL, and now we have made an application out of it. Okay, it is executed now. Okay, still in progress. So now it is executed. We can validate here by running ls-ltr. You can see the total revenue. So cd total revenue ls-ltr. We can see the data, and you can see the date end the revenue for that day. And as I have been mentioning, probably in the exam, they might ask you to save using a specific format. Okay. So what we are supposed to do if I have to save in tab separated? What we are supposed to do? So whatever output this total revenue daily gets, I want to save it in tab separated or some other delimited format. Right now, data is comma separated, and also there is a square bracket here. Okay, so any idea what we are supposed to do? One way is to use product iterator. Yes, that is correct. But first we need to understand the data type of this. Okay, and then first thing that needs to strike to your mind is we need to apply map function on this RDD. Okay, and then we should apply the necessary transformation as part of the map function. And there are few helper methods directly on this. So if I just, can you guys guess what is the data type of total revenue daily? Is it RDD, total revenue daily? What is the data type of it? I'm asking the data type of this field, total revenue daily. Rohit said it's data frame, that's correct. So data frames have few methods. Okay, now if I try give dot here, we don't need to convert to RDD to actually save. Okay, there are few methods which you can apply directly. Okay, you can also use the map function of data frames. Okay, and also there are methods such as persist. Okay, persist is different, it's to cache. I think there are few methods about how to write to a file or something. Yeah, so if you want to convert to JSON, you can directly say to JSON here. Okay, you need to go through these methods and try to use try to decide which method you should use. So in this case, I will use map on data frame. Not so total revenue daily is of type data frame, and there is an overridden map function for that also. So here I can say map. Okay, and then let's give the name as row. Okay, and then as Hemant have mentioned, let's try this if it works. Product iterator dot make string. Okay, so here I'm giving product iterator. Okay, first letter, yeah, there is a product iterator on row, and then make string, and then you can give the okay, let us see. So product. So there is no product iterator on this. So what we have to do? Let us understand what is the data type of this. Okay, so for that, first we need to run this entire program, or let me try from here itself. If it takes too much of time, then I will try to do it from console. Okay, and now row dot So there is no product iterator here, but we can use get string. So first thing is order date. So I can say 0, and then I can say /t if I want to save it in tab, and then row dot get string of 1. Okay, and then here again we need to understand the output of data type of this map function. Most likely the data type of this map function is nothing but uh, data frame. Okay, so probably you can convert it into RDD now. RDD dot save as text file. Why it is failing? So let us see. Dot. Okay, there is no. I think this map might give RDD directly. So let us see if there is. Yeah. So even though we are applying this map function on data frame, the return type is RDD. It's not data frame anymore. So as this is RDD, we can directly say save as text file. Okay, and here we have to give output path and save it. Okay, now let me run it. So is it clear? So total revenue daily is of type data frame. We are applying map function on data frame, but the output is of type RDD. So we don't need to convert into RDD. So that's why REPL will come handy. You can create a variable, or you can directly run this in a REPL, and you will see the data type of each command you are trying to run, the return type of each command you are trying to run. So that will be very helpful when you actually work on projects. Then you can embed that as part of your program. Now let me try to run this and see if the data is stored properly or not as per our requirement. So there is some error. Okay, here it is. You can see here. So revenue is of type double, and we are trying to read it as string. Okay, so instead of using get string, we have to use get double. Save it and then run. Now it is done, and if we actually see, because the data is deleted and directory is recreated, it didn't return anything here as we are in the directory earlier. Now if I go back to total revenue again, and you can see the data, and let us view on one of the file, and you can see the data is delimited by tab. Okay, so it is very important, because you might end up writing everything correct, but if you screw up here, or if you goof up here, then your answer will be marked incorrect, especially for those who are interested in taking the certifications. Make sure you understand the output format and the right program to satisfy that output format, and also make sure you validate your output. Don't just blindly think that it will be correct. Okay, so that being said, let me reiterate the program again. So what we have done, we have created case classes, order items, and orders, because we are trying to use data frames and Spark native SQL context, and we want to create temporary tables based upon the incoming data using case classes. There are no predefined tables anywhere in this case. Now, as part of the program, after initial validations on input path, output path, etc., we use sc.text file to read data from orders and order items which we want to join, and then apply the map functions. And using the case classes, orders and order items, we have created data frames, and we applied 2ds function also. Okay, and then we registered both orders and order items, and then we just ran SQL context.sql. Here the data type of SQL context is this SQL context, arg.apache.spark.sql._ spark.sql.sql context. Okay, and once the query is run against these temporary tables, the output will be nothing but a data frame, and we applied a map function which converted the data frame into RDD, and as part of that we actually applied the transformation to get the data the way we want, and then we have actually used save as text file to write the output to the underlying directory. Now I want to run this on the lab. So just I will not be running, but just let me know what should we do now. We have the program ready, and I want to I want to run this program in the lab, and we are using SBT. So what is the next step I should perform? Himanshu said SBT package, correct? So here, wherever our project is, we have to go to that location, idea projects, and W labs is the base directory of my application. And if I run ls-ltr, we see source directory, target directory, and then build SBT. Here we have to run SBT package. Okay. So Himanshu is just started the Scala and Spark sessions as part of the new batch. You guys are learning for past 6 weeks. Himanshu is new, and I just covered these things as part of the latest class last week. That's why he could recollect immediately. Okay. Now we build the jar file, and this is the location where the jar file is created, and we have to ship it to the lab. And which command we should use to submit the program in the jar file? Himanshu, you don't answer. Let other folks answer that. What is the command I should use? So let me do this. Let me do it again. I thought you might be able to recollect. I will do the exercise. Yeah, Ravindra is correct. It's Spark submit. Okay, and then here I am copying it to my gateway node to my account. Let me type it in multiple lines so that you can follow. So SCP, the path of the jar file, and then my username, and then the gateway node. I'm zooming in a little bit here, and I have to get the credentials. So I'm logging into the lab. Copy its password. I have to give the directory. So colon tilde represents the home directory on the lab of D Gadraju user account, and I'm trying to copy that location. Pasted the password, and boom, and my jar file is now shipped to the lab. Okay, so I will give you a small technique. Probably you might be familiar with SSH passwordless login. Whoever is familiar, instead of changing the password of your user accounts on the lab, try to set up passwordless login. So I will show how to do that. If you are interested, you can follow and you can take care of that. If you have Sigwin or terminal, whatever it is, you can just run SSH keygen and hit enter. When you hit enter, in this path, it will try to create a public and private key. Okay, I already have that. So these are my set of keys, and I want to use ID underscore RSA as the private public key, so that I don't need to give the path of the key also. If you want to use your custom, you can use your custom also. So let me use labs. Okay. So or let me use IT versus, yeah, let me use labs. Okay. So here I'm copying. I need to copy the public key. So whenever you run SSH keygen with the name you mentioned here, along with the path, it will create a two files. It will create two files. One with the name you have specified, and other with .pub extension. .pub is nothing but a public key. So this public key has to be transformed to the target server. So here I am trying to copy that. Copy .ssh labs.pub to my account. And I need to get the first time I have to give the password. Means until I complete the setup, I have to give the password. Now the file is copied. Now I am logging in again. Again, it will prompt for the password. The process is not done yet. Okay. And now the password is copied. Here you have to do few things. First, you have to run ls-altr and see if there is a .ssh directory here. If the .ssh directory does not exist, you have to create one, mkdir.ssh, and then you also have to run chmod 700 on .ssh. Okay, if you don't do this, if you don't change it to 700, it will not work. I will not get into the details why it will not work and why we need to do this. Just blindly follow these things. And then make sure we have the public key here. Okay. So what we have to do, we have to cat the details of labs.pub into a file called authorized keys. Okay. .ssh/authorized keys. It is not there yet. It will be created now when we run this command. If it already exists, it will just append to the existing file. Okay. To be safer side, you can also give tilde/ because this is the location where you need to tilde represents home directory. So tilde is the location where you have to have this .ssh directory with 700 permissions, and then it should contain the authorized keys file. Okay. And now you can run ls-ltr.ssh and you can see the authorized keys. Okay. And it is not required, but it is good practice to change the permissions on authorized requests. So here, sorry, authorized keys. So here I am saying chmod 600 tilde/.ssh authorized keys and hit enter. Only dgatheraru can read the contents of the file. No one else can do that. And then exit from here. Okay, now the setup process is done. And the passwordless login setup is done. We can actually run SSH like this, and it will not prompt for the password. Okay. Okay, there is a reason why it was asking. I just gave SSH, I didn't give the labs. If I just give SSH, it will only look for ID underscore RSA. And ID underscore RSA pub is not the one which is copied. So that's why it is not working. So here I have to say SSH-I. For any other files than ID underscore RSA under default location, you have to give this path, a fully qualified path of the file. So tilde/.ssh, and the private key which I will be using is labs, because I have labs.pub on the remote server. and then I can say dgadiraju@gw01.itversity.com. Okay. I don't recommend you guys to do it immediately. I have something called passphrase. You just don't give any passphrase unless you want to. So now it prompts me for the passphrase, but you don't need to set up. Passphrase is additional security to passwordless login. Okay, now you can see the file is copied. Sorry, SSH is done without prompting for the password. Even though it is prompting for the passphrase, it is not prompting for the password. If you don't want to have passphrase, you don't need to give the passphrase while setting up. So if you do not get it completely, make sure you watch again later as part of YouTube or as part of the link which you will get later, and then set up the passwordless login. But do not change the passwords on the lab. If you change the password, the problem will be in future if you want to regenerate the passwords, you will be confused. And also there are multiple components as part of our lab. We have gateway node, we have Ambari, we might have few more going forward, and I want your password to be synced on all the platforms. Okay, so now I have the jar file here, wlabs 2.10-1.0.jar. So now we can run spark submit command to submit our Spark jobs. And to get the syntax, always go for Spark programming guide. Spark programming guide 1.6.2. Okay, and click on this. And here you go to quick start and search for Spark submit. Okay, and this is how a simple Spark submit command will look like. First thing what you have to do, you have to give the class name. So Spark submit -- class. Okay, and you have to give the class name. What is our class name? We have to give the fully qualified class name, not just class name. So I have to give retail.data frames dot total revenue daily SQL. Okay. Once you give the class name, because we want to run in yarn mode, if you want to pass the last parameter as prod, if you pass it as prod, if you go to application.properties, it will run in yarn client mode. To run in yarn client mode, you have to give -- master and yarn. Okay. Now, if you want to override any other parameters, you can override. And then finally, you have to give the class name, jar file name. Okay. After giving all the parameters, you can give the jar file name. And it takes 3 parameters. One is input path. I want to read data from public retail_db, that is my base directory. And output path, I am trying to save it into my home directory, which is dgadiraju total revenue. Okay, and then last parameter prod, and then hit enter. You can get this tracking URL. Okay, and you can confirm whether the job is successful or not. So you can see job is successful. And if you want to look at the DAG, okay, there are 2 jobs associated with it. Okay. The first one is, it has 4 stages. Okay, and you can actually look into the DAG to see what's going on. Okay, so here you can see we are trying to read data from orders and order items. Okay, so this is for odd, one of them will be for orders and the other one is for order items. Probably this is for orders because we have the where condition. Okay, and then you can see that it has actually applied the join functionality here as part of the stage 2, and then it might have created the total revenue daily uh, data frame. Okay, and now if you go to the next job, as part of this job, it actually skipped all these three things because it felt that it is not required as these three stages are executed as part of the first job. It takes care of it is taken care by the internal optimization feature of Spark SQL, and then finally it actually applied the map function to save it into the text file. Okay, I'm not sure what this stage is all about, but you can see that map function is applied here, and then it is saved as text file. So this job actually running, sorry, this application actually ran two jobs, and let's see the output now. Hadoop fs-ls user d Gadiraju total revenue. Okay, and hit enter. You can see the files here, and you can copy this path and then say Hadoop fs-tail and paste it. And you can see that data is tab limited, so it is as expected. Okay, so this is how you should run. Once the program is developed, you have to package into jar file, copy it into the remote machine or remote lab, and submit the job. If you want to override anything at the runtime, such as memory settings and all those things, you can take care. And I will be demonstrating that as part of the last class. Probably there will be two more classes on Spark, and I will be demonstrating it as part of the last class. So is everything clear? So this is kind of a recap about what we have done with our earlier programs. I just want to make sure that you understand how to use IDE and write your programs. Okay, is everything clear for you guys? If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, we'll move on and we will try to focus on Spark SQL in Hive context. So far, we have seen Spark SQL in Spark native context using data frames to create temporary tables. Now we will try to use the tables which are already created in Hive. Okay, so let us get started. So if you want to use Spark SQL in Hive context as part of your application, it is a little bit more tedious. It's not as straightforward as we are doing here. You need to have a local Hive database, and you have to integrate your Spark with Hive, and it takes some effort. Okay, but what you can typically do is it's better to set up the environment, even though it's painful. I will leave it to you. You can set up anytime. But for now, if you just want to understand how Spark SQL works, I will recommend you to go to the lab and practice over there directly. Okay, so here I'm already in the lab with Hortonworks distribution and most of the latest versions of Spark distributions except for Cloudera. There is third REPL. So already we have seen Spark Shell, which is Scala based REPL, PySpark, which is Python based REPL, and now we are seeing the third one, which is nothing but Spark SQL, and hit enter. Okay, because we are using Hortonworks and everything is well integrated, it knows where our Hive meta store is, and it will try to connect to the Hive meta store. Don't worry about too much. Don't worry too much about Hive meta store and all. Just remember that you can create tables in Hive, and you can use those tables in Spark if those two are integrated, and that integration will be taken care by admins. You don't need to worry about the integration. Okay. Created local directory. I know what is the problem here. Okay, now it will work. Okay, now you can see it is actually connecting to means we are connected to Spark SQL, and here this is like SQL plus of Oracle or MySQL command line interface. You will not be able to write programs here. You can run your queries. For example, if you want to connect to your database, which is already in Hive, you can say use dgadraju and hit enter. Okay, now it is in the database. I can run show tables command to list the tables. So here these are the tables which I have already: categories, customers, departments, order items, orders another, orders bucketed, order sequence, products, blah blah blah. Okay, and also I can actually run any valid Hive DDL, DML or Hive query. Okay, I can also run select star from orders limit 10. Okay, let me see. There is some issue. I cleaned up dgaraju in my lab and recreated that. It seems there is some issue with it. Okay, cd sudo su hdfs hadoop fs-ls. Okay, people are creating tables in my account. Okay, there is no table orders. That's why it is failing. Input path does not exist. Okay. So let me give some other table. Order underscore items. Yeah. Now you see, we can see the data. And then if I run select count of 1 from order items and hit enter, it will run the query and you can see the output. So here what you need to understand is when we actually store data using Hive, your data will be in HDFS, your metadata will be in metastored database, which is MySQL. And then to process the data, you can run in different contexts. You can run in Hive context, you can run in Tez context, you can run in Impala context, you can run in Presto context. Also, you can run in Spark SQL context. So when we launch Spark SQL, the processing context is Spark based. Okay, when we launch Hive and if we try to run whatever is the default execution engine, it could be MapReduce or test, it will run in that context. Okay, so here the data is actually processed in the way Spark typically process. You can also go to the URL for the job history and all, and you can actually get the details from there also. So here, instead of running in local mode, now I am trying to run in Yarn client mode. Okay, now Spark will be launched in Yarn mode, and you will get the URL for your jobs which you will be running, and we can keep track about our jobs using that URL. So this is the URL. So as of now, we haven't run any query. Okay. Now let me go to dgajraju. Okay, now let me run show tables. So we already have these many tables. There is orders also, but I don't know why it is not showing up. I think, okay, underlying directory might be deleted. That's fine. Orders, even though the table exists, the underlying directory seems to be deleted, but we can run against this, orders another. Select star from orders another limit 10. And you can see the data here. Now, if I want to run the query, I can directly run whatever is the part of our program. We don't need to create case classes, and we don't need to do all these things. We can directly run this query with little formatting. And our orders name is orders underscore another. Now I can run the query. Okay, I know the problem. So now the query is running. We can actually refresh our page here and see if the jobs will show up. Okay, so this is the latest job. We can get into the details of the job. Okay. Let me see. Jobs. Yeah, I think this is the one. I think these two are related, 4 and 5. Yes, these two are related. You can see job 4 actually scan the tables, and job 5 is the one which have done further processing. Okay, so So this is how you can actually get the details about how the job is executed. Okay, so the plans might change a little bit about how, depending upon how the data is stored and all. So you need to dig deep to understand why there are differences. So earlier, when we are using data frames, it has to do some processing to build the data frames. Right here, the data frames, it don't need to do that process. You don't need to apply map function to convert your data into data frame and all. Some things are already taken care when we actually have reading data from Hive tables. Okay, that's why there will be differences in the execution plan. You need to understand that, and for that you need to practice, and you have to go through what is to understand what is going on. Now, if I want to build application using this query, okay, we should not use Spark SQL for that. We have to develop the way we have been doing. Either we have to use IntelliJ or some other IDE and develop the program, build the jar file, ship the jar file to the cluster and run it over there. Okay, and even to come up with the code, what you have to do, you launch Spark Shell now. Spark Shell. I'm using master yarn client. So Spark SQL is primarily to just come up with the valid queries to complete your program. Spark Shell or IDE has to be used to develop. Okay, if you want to develop in REPL mode, you can use Spark Shell on the cluster where Hive and Spark are integrated. You cannot do it wherever you want. Okay. Once this is done, once the Spark Shell is launched, you can see the last statement, SQL context available as this object, SQL context, and it is created with Hive support. So if you just copy paste that one and hit enter, you will understand that it is type of SQL context, which is nothing but Hive context object assigned to it. So this is nothing but Hive context object, which is assigned to its base class, which is SQL context. Okay, so using this, we can directly run the queries. Okay, so here first we will say SQL context dot SQL use dgaziraju, which is our database name. I think you have to give semicolon here and hit enter. Yeah, you should not have semicolon. You just say use, and then if you want to list the tables, you can say show tables. And here it is returning data frame. So to read the data frame, you might have to do rdd.collect for each, or there might be collect directly under this. Okay, SQL collect. Let me see. Yeah, there is a collect on top of data frame also. So we can use collect directly from here. Then we can say for each println. Okay, so these are the tables from dgaziraju database. Why it is getting only from dgaziraju? Because earlier I have ran SQL context.sql show tables. Sorry, use dgaziraju. So it actually changed the context to that database. And now I can run the query SQL context. I can directly run this. But here the table names are different, so we have to be a little bit careful here. So here I just have to say orders underscore another. We can copy that one, paste it here, and then you can actually collect reach println and hit enter. So by default, it is using 200 tasks. There is a parameter which I have covered earlier. To override that, you can set shuffle partitions to whatever number you want, and then it will not take those many tasks to complete the job. Now, if I want to use it as part of the program, what I have to do? I just will not be able to test, but we can develop. So I'm creating a new class of type object, and then I am naming it as total revenue daily high, and click on OK. Okay, so I will extend a little bit, another 5 minutes probably, and then we will be able to wrap up Hive also. Okay, and in this, I just have to get the code from here. And we will just clean it up real quick. Savita, can you go on to mute? I'm listening background noise, unless you have some question to ask. Let me keep her on mute. Yeah. Okay, now in this, we don't need to get the input path. So I am deleting this one. We don't need to do this. We don't need to do this. We don't need to do this. But one main thing is you have to use Hive context. Okay, and to get the Hive context, here I have to understand the path. So here I am giving SQL context. I mean, it's the fully qualified path. So it's under SQL.hive.hive context. So I have to say here hive dot underscore. Okay, arg.apache.spark.sql.hive dot underscore import arg.apache.spark. Why it is not showing up? Okay, I think I have to define one more dependency. Okay, so let me identify that. Google Spark Hive SBT. Yeah, so I have to add one more dependency. I thought it's under Spark SQL, but for Hive, we have to add one more dependency. Okay, and let us see if we get it for 1.6.2. So next class will be exercise. Okay, on Spark SQL and data frames. Next class, and then finally we will have one more class where we will recap everything. It is taking very long time. I thought it will be fast because we are only adding one dependency, but it is taking good amount of time. I think SBT resolving is a painful process. It takes very long time to resolve. Probably there is a way to disable the resolvers. I'm not 100% sure. It is not even start. It even did not start downloading the dependencies. It's just resolving. So again, so we'll start on Hive within a moment. Yeah, now it is downloading. I don't know why it is taking such a long time to download. Meanwhile, let me clean up some code at least. Is it? Or probably you are in Bay Area, so it might be taking some time to travel from Bay Area to here. So let me clean up the code here. We don't need to have this file system and all those things. We can delete all these stuff. And here I just have to say orders another. Okay, and then I just have to delete this. Now again it is resolving. I don't know how long it will take. We'll give 2 more minutes, and if it did not complete, then we will move on. We will continue as part of the next class. But I hope you got the idea about how to take it and start using Hive context. Now the query is validated, and yeah, here we have to say give the database name and all those things. So we have to say SQL context dot SQL use Raju. Okay, and then it will connect to the database. You can externalize this database name if you are interested, rather than hard coding like this. And also, if you don't want to give the database name like this, you can delete this, and you can actually say here also Raju dot whatever database name you are using dot, and that's it. I don't know why it is taking such a long time. Let me check the internet speed. I just added one dependency. Why it is downloading so much of stuff? And it is a common complaint against FBT. It is typically slow. Internet speed is not that bad. I don't know why this calcite core, yeah, data nucleus makes some sense. I think it's towards the end. Let us see. Let me do this. Let me stop this. And let me save it again and see. Anyway, so we will move on. I think it is taking way too much of time. Again, it has to, I think this time it is a little bit faster. Anyway, we'll move on. I hope you guys understand what I'm trying to do. If you have any questions, let me know. I will give 1 minute time. Otherwise, we'll move on to the Hive session. Any questions here on data frames or Spark native context and using data frames in Spark native context or in Hive, running Spark and Hive together? Okay, so to start with, next week sorry, on Thursday's class we will try to do the exercise, and on Friday we will wrap up by revisiting and comparing whatever we have completed from the certifications perspective. So we have 4 certifications on Spark. One is Cloudera one, other one is Hortonworks, third one is Mapper, and fourth one is ODD and Databricks. They conduct one certification exam. So for CCA and Hortonworks, Cloudera and Hortonworks certifications, I am covering 100% of the syllabus. For the other two, I am covering 70–80%. Okay. So that being said, I will stay on mute for a couple of minutes and also stop sharing the screen. And also I'm stopping recording. If the recording is not started, just remind me. Okay. So I'll catch up in a couple of minutes. So those who are on Google Hangout, thank you very much for joining the session. As I have been mentioning, if you need an environment to practice, you can go to labs.itversity.com, and you have 3 different plans. One for $14.95 for 31 days, then $34.95 for 930 days, and $54.95 for 185 days. You can follow these videos and practice leveraging the lab after signing up. If you don't have environment, whether you have whether you use your own environment or use our labs, if you have any questions, you can always get on to discuss.itversity.com to ask your questions, and there are army of volunteers who are responding to your questions, and you will get your questions answered. Okay. That being said, we'll catch up in the Hive session in a moment. Thank you. Bye.